Okay, so leading off, picking up from where we were last time, you can see that I've got my file open. One quick tip I'm going to show you in terms of our layers palette before we move on is how to delete effects. So I've added this Bevel Emboss, which is quite interesting, but I've decided on retrospect that I don't really like it. Because I saved my file unflattened with all the layers, you can see here, I can go click on the layer that I have added the effect to, and I can actually just click on the effect. See, I'm clicking on Bevel and Emboss here, and I can drag that to the trash can, and you'll see that it removes the effect. So I'm going back to just this nice textural scratching in here, and I'm pretty happy with that. So as we move on, today we're going to look at two main tools. We're going to look at the Paintbrush tool and how to use it, and we're going to look at the Clone Stamp tool, both of which are very different but can be quite interesting. Many of these you will discover just by exploring them, but there's going to be some key ones that we're going to look at. Okay, so as with anything, when we're looking at Photoshop, remember that we're looking at the layers, and we have to have the layer selected, which we see by this grey-blue, if we want to work on it. So what I would like to do first is we're going to introduce you to the Paint tool and some of its features. Similar to any other tool, up here you can see that you can change the size. Alright. Now what's really cool about paintbrushes, if you scroll down here, look at all these different types, and if you scroll down you can actually, on a lot of shareware on different websites, you can actually download particular brushes, and they have different shapes. So for instance, you can see here all these different types here. If we scroll down, I quite fancy one of these kind of decorative ones, so I'm going to pick this, and you can see how big it is here. I can change it. Many of these designed brushes, people have designed them, and so they come in a set size that the person thinks is appropriate for that design, but you can always change it. Now if I work on this layer here, it's going to join into this layer, as you can see. So what I want to do is I always want to create a new layer, because that means I can control what's on here. And I'm on color black. I might change that. So I can come and click on here. While I'm still all on the brush tool, it's not going to change. See, it comes back to the brush tool, and I'm going to put that stamp there. Now it's kind of cool, but it's a bit in my face. It's a bit too bright. So while you can still see I'm on this brush, I'm going to actually change the opacity so you can see there. Now other than that, you can just use the paintbrush like a normal paintbrush, and you can actually work on and blend. You can still see it's come up with the same pattern. So if I want to work with a normal brush, I can actually come back up here, and you can see there's different types of brushes like you would have if you actually had a brush. You can see you've got a slanted brush, you've got a fan brush, you've got a pointed brush, there's pencils here. These hard lines suggest that the edge is going to be really crisp. These soft lines suggest that the edge will be blurry and diffused, so depending on what you want to achieve. So for instance, I might want to actually come and zoom in on some of these parts in here, and so I'm going to Command plus, that's our shortcut for zooming in, and you can see that the brush pattern has come up a bit more clearly. So the next thing that I'm going to just revise for you is what we call our navigator. Now here, if my navigator, see my navigator is already in my workspace. If it's not, I can click on it, and if it's there I can click on it. If it's not, I go to Window and click down, and anything that's got a tick next to it is showing up on should be showing up on your workspace. I notice that history isn't, but we can see it here, so that's okay. So here's my navigator. I showed you this the other day. Remember that this red bounding box, or this red box, is where it's zoomed in on. So I can drag it down, I can drag it up, and I can zoom in and out. Okay, so I want to zoom in, and then I want to go to my layers, because I think I'm going to work on this flower layer. So again, we can turn all the other layers off if we want to focus on a particular element. We might leave that on because it's hard to see. And I think I might add some highlights on it. Now the next quick tool that I forgot that I was going to show you, but I will just now, is the dropper tool. So we just need to figure out which one it is, because it's not on the right one. Oh, blind Miss Tilton. Here we go. So this is the dropper tool, and I actually want to use this dark blue and green. You can see it's changed it down here. Now I click back to my paint tool, and actually I've got a low opacity. That's quite nice because I want to add in some dark in here, and I think that's still too bright, so I'm going to go to my history. I'm going to undo it. I'm going to go back. See it? You can still see a bit of green here, so I'm going to go one back more. You can see it's gone. Layers palette. I want to click on the correct layer again, and you can see, because you can see that while that's off, you can't do anything, and while the eye is off. So now I'm back on the correct layer. I've changed the opacity even more. Sorry, that's actually changing the layer, my bad. I need to change it up here. So let me go down here. Alright, now here you can see it coming up slowly. So I just want to actually just add a little bit of detail to that. I might want to pick and change it to be a little bit lighter. So actually, similar to how you would use a paintbrush, you can actually add the layers onto it. Now I'm not doing it very carefully. If you were doing it carefully, you might want to come in here a bit more. So now I want to pick a really dark colour because I really want that shadow to come out. And again, like a paintbrush, I can come in here. I still feel like that's not dark enough. Let me maybe change the opacity, and we'll change it up here. Okay, now you can see, yep, that's a bit darker. You can see that it's actually going a bit green on here. Okay, so you can just, similar to other paintbrushes, you can actually change the colour, and here you can either change it by using the dropper tool and using something similar, or you can double click down here on the colours palette and then pick the colour you want. So I'm going to pick this colour now, and I want to tone it back a bit. So you can see you can work on these, work in different levels, and that will help as well. Alright, so that's what we're going to look at right now. The next thing we're quickly going to look at, so that our tutorial doesn't become too long, is the clone stamp tool. This is a nifty little guy. So if I click on him, I want to zoom out again, so I click up to my navigator, and I'm going to zoom right out again because I want to see the whole thing. You can see here where the paint elements come in, and I'm going to turn my other layers back on. Boom, 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 boom. Now you can't really see that too much. I'd probably want to make it a little bit richer with what I'm doing. Now, what's cool with the clone stamp tool is what it does is you can choose an area to click on, and it will replicate that. So I'm going to add another little flower fleur-de-lis shape like I did before. Maybe we'll do that one. We'll do a couple of these. Now that's big as well, so we go down, we change the size. The opacity is 100, so that's really good. So that's much better. So I'm going to click on the background and add them in as little patterns. And you can see it's quite a light colour. Whoops, I'm on the wrong tool. Come back up here. Paintbrush tool. And I'm going to click on the background again. And I need to change this. It's forgotten my selection. So down I go here again. We'll choose this one this time. Oh, huge it is. Yeah. And down we go. Now in the background, I've clicked on the background so you can see. Now what's really cool about this is obviously you can see it a bit behind here because it's a little bit transparent. Okay, now here's the thing. Perhaps I want to actually use this tool somewhere else in here, or it's a pattern that's existing that wasn't a paintbrush and I want to copy it. So I'm going to go to the clone tool, and what you want to do is you're going to click on an area. I'm going to change it back to the normal paintbrush because this is getting a bit confusing. You pick on an area that you want. So I want this area and I want to copy it. So we'll turn these off just so we can see it clearly. So I do an Alt click and see how it turns into a little cross here. Okay, like that. And I click with my mouse on the left button, and now you'll see how it picks up that thing. Look at this. You can see up in the right hand corner that it's got the cross here, and that's what it's copying. Now because it's to the right slightly, it's going to stop here. So what I want to do is I want to Alt click again. You can see that. Now you can see me doing it, and now it's going to copy over this. So what's quite cool about that is if you've got parts of a image that you want to repeat, and you want to repeat the pattern in a different area, it is if you have a look at the crosshair above it, it is only copying those pixels. It's a very logical procedure, so you can't expect it to be intuitive. So if I click here again, see I'm clicking right over here on the top right hand corner, and you can see that it's copying that from down here, and you can see how far it is away. So that will limit it if you're not, see there's nothing up here to select because the crosshair's way up here now. Okay, so that's a new couple of tools for you to play with.